Hi there. How are you today? Good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, you are here for your interior design textile consultation, correct? Wonderful. I will start our appointment off by letting you know that while I am fabulous at my job, I am not a miracle worker, okay? So while you are here to help give you a better idea of what kind of colors and textures and patterns you might want in your home, I can't help you make your mind up, and I certainly can't help you figure out your own opinions on the matter. You kind of have to know yourself, okay? I'm here to guide you through the journey, but the end result is up to you. Alright. As long as we have a mutual understanding of that, and a mutual understanding that tastes and preferences can change. You might like one thing today and not like it tomorrow. Call me up and say, hey, I liked that other fabric better. That's totally fine. Wonderful. So, as you can see, I have a plethora of different textures and patterns and colors here for you to take a look at with me today. We'll be going over some basics when it comes to color families, weight of fabrics, as I mentioned, the textures, and what that can provide for your home. Alright? Okay. So before we begin, do you have any sort of preference when it comes to color, pattern, texture? Okay. It's fine if not. That's what I'm here for. Alright. Well, let me grab my notebook for us. So, one basic thing that I would also like to discuss is just the variety of different home decor styles. Do you have one in particular you're leaning towards? Well, for some, keeping a very neutral palette is ideal, whereas it's become very popular in these days to do a very bright and vivacious sort of style with bold pinks and blues and purples. Personally, I think it's very fun. But there's also the more traditional. Okay. Absolutely. So you'd say we probably need to do a follow-up on decor style as well. Not to worry, I can certainly get you scheduled for that too, okay? Right. Okay. I'm just making a note here to get you scheduled in for the decor consultation after this. So, well, with no preference there, that really does leave the whole world as our oyster, so I suppose we better get into it then. first thing is first, you don't have any sort of preference on color family, any leanings towards warm, cool. We'll take a look at a little bit of everything today then. Let's start with, I have a funny question for you. What color palette would you say that you look the best in? I know we're talking about your home, but bear with me. Okay. Well, we'll certainly take a look at those then. There's an old trick I learned from an old colleague of mine, where when you decorate your home, you should also think about it as a space that you will inhabit. So you should make sure that the colors look good on you. If you are in it, you want to look and feel your best, and if you're walking past a mirror, say oranges are just not your color, but you adore them in decor, you can still go with it. It is your house and your preference after all, but I find that it is easier and more soothing on the eye if you go with a color palette that suits your actual physical being too. It's a silly trick. So let's see. Let's start with some neutrals, shall we? We'll start with my basic colors first, and then move on to some textures and fun stuff. Apologies for any stray threads. These fabric swatches of mine have been put to use, as you can imagine. Which is a good thing. It means I'm busy. It means that you know that you're getting someone who knows what they're doing, but I digress. There are threads everywhere. So, when it comes to neutrals, do you find you gravitate more towards a lighter tone, bright whites, or do you find, actually let's say, do you find that they give you a sense of cleanliness in the home, or would you say that it gives you a sense of inhospitability? I don't think I pronounced that correctly. Is it a pleasing, fresh cleanliness to you, or would you say it reminds you of a hospital? No answer here is incorrect. The entire point of this appointment is to help you get a better idea of how you want to decorate your home, not someone else's. Alright. So we'll keep that in mind for the white then. Get this folded up nicely here. Then for gray, this gray is more of a, it has more of a warm undertone, kind of gives off a purpley hue to my eyes, but we'll pretend it's a true neutral for now. Would you say that gray makes you feel comforted and cozy, or lethargic and depressed? Okay, of course. And black. think that's about as good as we're going to get it. Would you say that black invokes a feeling of sophistication, classiness for you, or darkness in a negative sense? Okay. Now, is black something that, while you might not want to consider it for a main color, would you consider it for an accent neutral? Think handles, shower heads, sinks, that kind of thing. I find that some clients that don't prefer darker tones on a large scale do like a nice pop of sophistication throughout with it. Okay. Put that back in here. Moving on from there, let's see. Where should I take you? Let's look at some fun textures. So these are just a small example of our leather varieties, showing you that we can do dark tones, mid-tones, and lighter tones. This would be like your traditional camel tone. Whereas this is your traditional rich brown tone. And then, as you're aware, traditional black tone. So if you wanted to decorate anything with a leather accent, we would pick from the main family one of these three colors, and then I would show you the various different variety in each of these. This one is, let's get you the names here. Espresso. This one is camel. And this one is just plain black. So these really are the basics. You get into more fun names like dusted mahogany or rough sands when you pick a different variety. Do you find yourself drawn to more natural textures? When I say natural, I mean things like stone, wood textures, leather textures. Or do you find yourself drawn to things more like a luxurious velvet, a brass? Okay. Leather, thankfully, is one of those things that can very easily go in either direction if you want a lighter, more natural kind of feeling in your home, or if you want a richer, deeper, more luxurious sensation. So, either way, we could make leather work for you if you wanted it. Okay, perfect. So, moving on from there, let's look at some color families. I think This is always a very telling one, so let's start over here. Now, bear with me. You have a lot to look at here. So, I always like to get a good idea as to whether or not my clients like yellows, oranges, reds right out of the gate, because that can help us decide quite a bit. And most of the time, most people can have a pretty neutral feeling when I show them a blue first thing, but yellows, oranges, reds, they're more vibrant, they're more in your face, loud and exciting, and I find that most people either love or hate them. Now, you might feel neutral towards them, that's totally fine, but it's a good baseline. Okay, so let's look at our yellow family first. We've got some paler, cool-toned yellows here. Any particular feeling about that one? Of course. This one is a lighter yellow, but it's definitely more of a warm tone. If you're someone who likes sunflowers or goldenrods or daisies, the warmer yellows would be more your speed. Moving on from there, we have a brighter yellow. Between these two brighter yellows, this one is a bit more cool, and this one up top is a bit warmer, as you can see the difference there. Any preference on those? Okay. Right. So, don't mind them as an accent color for other things, but maybe not for the home. Completely understand. No, oh goodness, no, you will not. You won't hurt my feelings by judging these colors. As a matter of fact, I get very excited when people know their opinions on colors and tones and textures, because it means we can help them better outfit their home. So next we have this kind of cool orange tone. It can be a very divisive color, orange. Okay. And then this darker, heavier orange. I would use this sparingly throughout the house if you did want to go that route. It can be very overpowering to the other colors and give things a sense of, how shall I say, chaos if not used appropriately. But that's what I'm here for, is to make sure you use them all appropriately. Alright. So probably not the oranges. Totally understand. Alright, reds. So here I have a very traditional, kind of a warmer toned red. This is probably what you think of when you think of a classic red lipstick on someone. Right. Same thing as the orange. Can be a little chaotic if not used properly, but can be extremely classy and well suited to a space if you know how to use it. And just to show you the difference here, this is more of a cool toned red. So you do prefer the cool tone over the warm tone here? Okay, of course. Then let's try, if you like the cool tone more, you get your opinion on this kind of plum mahogany. I find that most people that prefer cooler tones tend to favor the darker plum colors too. Would that be accurate for you? Of course. Makes complete sense to me. This would be something that's nice as a throw pillow accent or a curtain accent. You could pepper it throughout in your decorations. This would be the kind of color that really ties your color palette together. I like to say, as a rule of thumb, you want to pick a good neutral for your house, typically for the majority of your walls, unless you're going for something particularly bold and vivacious there. And then you want more of an accent color that's going to be your darker accent. Alongside that, you also want a lighter accent color. You want to intersperse them throughout everything. And then you would like typically a good accent neutral, so like a black, maybe hardware, or a silver or gold. And having those kinds of palettes and knowing that that's the palette you're trying to stick to really makes the home flow in such a wonderful and organized manner. It just adds this sense of relaxation to the whole place. So this is a really good option for one of those accents if you choose it. This was a no on the yellow. Didn't prefer the orange. At least not in this usage. And preferred the cooler reds. Okay. I take all of these notes and then I'll compile them into a master list for myself once we're done. And I create some fun color palettes for you that I send off for you to look at, see if those are the kinds of color palettes you would prefer to use in your home. Or you could even shoot back and say, hey, I don't think that's it, I want to go in a different direction. Of course. So, do you have any strong opinions on blues or greens? Right. Well, knowing that you liked the cooler reds does help me there. Let's try this. I'm not going to go through every single one with you because we're already narrowing it down a bit. Knowing you did not prefer those bolder colors there, I think we can take these out. But how does this darker, cool-toned green make you feel? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe even a warmer toned green. I could definitely see that. Let me ask you this question. If slash when you wear jewelry, do you prefer golds or silvers? Okay. Do you find that you prefer that same tone? Okay. Perfect. That helps me a lot. So we'll move on from there. Just get these put back. That way I don't have too much cleanup to do after your appointment's done. Let's do this. You see all these curtains I have behind me here? So each of these curtains is a different material, and I want you to tell me which you prefer. So we have this black one here, which is kind of a softer, lighter weight material. It will allow for some air to blow through it, but not too much. Oh, of course you can touch it if you'd like. Yes, here. There you are. Right. Very soft, very delicate. A little cottony, but not scritchy like linen might be. Okay. Or we have a more sophisticated, luxurious velvet. These can be ordered in all sorts of colors, by the way, so don't get hung up on that. Here. There you are. Yes, please feel free to pet it. It's a beautiful fabric. It's an absolutely beautiful fabric. But it has its right and its wrong places in interior decoration, that's for sure. I find velvet is better suited to larger, more open spaces. Otherwise, it kind of drags down a smaller space. Okay. Good to know. Then we have a more knit material. Now this one's a little heavier. This is going to be more for a throw blanket than a curtain. Right. Very cozy. Definitely adds a nice touch of warmth to a home, but if you're not careful, can age the home a little too much. Right. Unless you want that, I know the cottagecore kind of granny vibe is in right now, which I'm all for. Yes. So you like the texture, but sparingly. Very good. And then this one is double-sided. So first, we have this kind of satiny side. It can really illuminate a space. It has that almost water-like, liquid-like light and sheen to it. So if you're doing something with lots of cool blue tones, that could be something that adds an illusion of water into the picture. Or if you're just looking for an air of sophistication and luxury similar to the velvet, but lighter weight, satin is typically a very good option. Satin or silk. For some spaces, it can certainly, if used improperly, look a little bit almost try-hard. So you have to make sure that you've paired it with the correct textures and colors. Otherwise, I think it's a beautiful fabric. Yes, whereas the velvet tends to add more of a heaviness and a warmth, this adds more of an open airiness and a coolness. Okay, for the other side. This is going to be more of your very traditional kind of looking material here. Very safe. There's nothing wrong with that. Just a very light hidden pattern. It's not too obtrusive, but still gives a little bit of interest to the eye when you pass over it. Has a little bit of sheen to it, which we can order all kinds of textiles, sheen or no sheen. It's really just the idea of whether or not you like the hidden pattern look. It's very conventional, very traditional. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with playing it safe, especially if you're going to go bold in some other areas. Sometimes a safe curtain is the thing that really pulls the room together. So you like the idea of a curtain that pops more? Okay, of course. Get these back. I know they're beautiful fabrics, aren't they? Okay, so that certainly helps me determine so you like the idea of a curtain popping, but you don't want it to seem like you're trying extremely hard. Completely understand. Would you say you don't want a stuck-up curtain is an accurate way of describing it? Okay. I completely understand. Now there's a way you can pair specific fabrics, like I mentioned, with other textures and other colors, so that a fabric that you might assume looks stuck up on its own really pulls a room together, but totally get it. And we said that you preferred maybe more of a warm green tone if we went with greens. Right. And for the gold or silver, yep. And that was for both home and wearing. Okay, wonderful. I've got a decent baseline at this point for you. I think you're pretty neutral on blues, right? Okay, let's try... I think for the rest of the color questions, I can get a pretty good baseline for you off of some of our more textured pieces, so let's move on to those. One quick question though. That's what I figured. Okay. Yep. Completely agree with that one. I always like to check first though. Okay. So let's do... Let's do this. Let's do kind of a 2-for-1. We'll do color and textile. Okay, get our velvets here. And our linens. Which I do want to grab these linens as well. Okay. So, actually this will be the perfect comparison. So since we're neutral on blues, between these two, I have a rich velvet blue. The color is called lapis. Feel free to touch it, yep. Very soft. Or we have, this is from our executive collection. This is a true navy. It's a linen material, so it's going to be lighter weight, a little more breathable, but you get the idea of how the same color, or at least the same color family, can be executed quite differently. Yes, of course, of course. So you feel how much lighter weight this linen is versus this one. Out of curiosity, do you prefer to keep your home warmer or cooler? Depending on where you live, of course, that changes, but... Okay. Okay, so Right, that would definitely be a better option for you if you're worried about that temperature difference in the home. No, these are all very important things to think about. You want to think about how your textiles, your colors, and everything works together within the parameters of the home you have. You don't want to, put a bunch of velvet fabric up if you're in, say, Arizona, and you don't want to not do anything insulating if you're somewhere like Maine in the winter. So, all good to know. Now, here's a very good test for you. So we haven't really discussed patterns too much yet, but this particular pattern is a favorite when it comes to home decor from most of our clients. Wallpaper is making a very big comeback right now, so this is definitely shining at the moment. But the point is, if you take something like this pattern, which has the brighter tones, the darker tones, the neutrals, you can pair it with, like I mentioned, a light accent piece like this, and it pulls out the lighter greens in there like that. You see? Or you could do one of your true neutrals with it that pulls some of the other colors. You know what? While it does match the tones in the flowers, the darker ones, let me try this. Let's go for more of a white tone to pull the white there. It lets the flowers stand out a little brighter, yes. So you see what I mean? these different colors. You could have your true neutrals, and then your lighter accent color. Or you could even just do a color that's intentionally within the same family. This is a very deep velvet green, but doesn't exactly match. Right. Precisely. So, something like this. This particular palette could work very nicely in a home. You would use the velvet green sparingly. This would be your lighter, more fun accent to be peppered throughout artwork. As I drop them, your true neutrals, and something like this to tie it all together. That's what we're trying to figure out your preference on. Yes. I think we're getting very close, though, to be honest with you, I do. Okay, so on the neutrals, did you prefer the cream and the white over the gray from earlier? Of course, of course. Okay, that is good to know. Now let me try this one. So this one is a neutral, but it's a bit more textured. So there's a little bit more nuance to it. This would be a really good one if you're going for some natural textures in the home, but you don't want to add too much actual wood or too much stonework. This kind of gives you the essence of that, you know. Right, yes. Okay. So let's take a peek at some patterns so I can get your opinions on those. I definitely have your opinions on velvets and linens and such, yes. And some color preferences too. Let's get these back over here. Alright, so for floral, you could have something like this, where it's kind of a darker floral, definitely an accent piece. Or if you're going for more of a bright floral, you could do something like this, where it pulls in many more colors, much more lively and vibrant. This would pair perfectly with anything from just a standard neutral palette to if you wanted to do something that had bold pinks and blues. That could be very fun. Right, okay. Okay, and moving on from floral patterns. This is similar in that it is a floral pattern, but it's going to be more of your antique classic kind of pattern. Think New England summer house, that kind of thing. Okay. I can certainly put that down. And then something like this. This is a little bit busier, so you'd have to use this sparingly to make sure it doesn't overwhelm everything else in the home. Okay. So a little too busy. That's fine. Alright, look at this thing. Now we have some fun ones. I know you didn't like the yellow, so use your imagination with me. This particular one we can get in a variety of colors, but it's really the pattern itself that I'm interested in seeing what your opinions are on it. Looks like watercolor. Right, exactly. You would certainly have to be careful with some of the patterns on your other textiles in the home, like blankets and pillowcases and such. They could clash quite absurdly if you're not careful, but if you're going for kind of an avant-garde, or even if the rest of the home is neutrals, something like this could work very nicely sparingly. Okay. Now, this is a little more traditional. So you've got the standard kind of striped pattern with lines down the middle. Again, come in all different colors. A little too traditional for you. Totally understand. So let's look at these. So we've got a few different stripe options here. Obviously darker, completely neutral with the accent in it. Okay. So not a stripe fan. I totally understand. They're not for everyone. Get that there. Let's do... If you're looking for a pop, it's kind of Art Deco vibe. So make lovely pillows, curtains. I wouldn't do this on a bedspread. I think that would be a little too much. And towels might be a little too small. I don't think they would showcase the pattern quite well enough. Yes, it has a very Great Gatsby feel to it, doesn't it? You like this more than the stripes. Okay, and then what about something like this, where it's almost marbled and somewhat mimics the texture of concrete, but in fabric form. I think it's fascinating. It's nice because it does kind of qualify as a neutral in home decorating, but it definitely adds a pop of interest and texture where you might not get it otherwise. Okay, wonderful. I've almost got everything I need from you to kind of curate your preferences. I think the only last ones are something like this. It would be obviously a much bigger pattern. Overall, lighter material. What would your thoughts be on that? Okay, so open to it in the right context. Understood. And then lastly, what do you think of something like this, where it's extremely lightweight, somewhat sheer fabric, neutral toned? Okay. Right. Certainly. Okay. Well, I think you've given me plenty to work with for now. I'm just going to put some final notes in here, and then I'll start curating some potential templates for you, some potential color schemes and palettes. I can get those sent off your way, or we can wait until we have kind of a decor consultation and I can send a more thorough... You want to wait till we do that? Of course, of course. That way we can pick golds, silvers, blacks, metallics, that kind of thing. Of course. Okay, well, I will get my notes done here. If you just want to stop with my assistant on the way out, she'll get you scheduled for our decor consultation. It's absolutely lovely meeting you today, and I'm very excited to see what we can do for you, okay? Alright. Take care now. Be safe out there.